All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight. I am, if we haven't met yet, my name is Kevin Ross, and I am the founding chairman of Washington FIRST. And I know there's a lot of new folks on the line and some folks from Oregon. I unfortunately am in the habit of using FirstWA and Washington FIRST Robotics interchangeably. And so it's the same group of people. Let's just put it that way. Joining us tonight are Deb Mumhill. She is the Pacific Northwest Regional Director and a representative of FIRST. And also we have with us Michael Campbell, who's the Regional Director for the state of Washington. What we're going to talk about tonight is the district model and what that is going to sort of look like, what we think it's going to look like. And so if that's what you're here for, there you go. You've come to the right place. Just really quickly, there are a lot of people on this call. We're expecting close to 200 people by the time everybody gets on. So everybody is muted except for Deb, Michael, and I. There is a questions box. You're welcome to type a question in there. And if you come up with a good one, we may unmute you. We are going to try and get through this as quickly as we can. We realize it is it's sort of a late evening. I thank you for joining us at this rather late hour for a webinar. A lot of people mentioned that they had a lot of after-school activities having to do with graduations and such coming up. So we moved this meeting to a little bit later. That, and it was an awfully nice day out. Okay. With that, and moving right along, let me give you an overview. So we're going to tell you what the district model means. You've heard this term more than likely being bandied about, and what we'd like to explain to you sort of in rough detail what that means, tell you why we're changing to this. We'll talk a little bit about the timeline changes for the district model and where we think the events might be, what the costs are, and how a team progresses to the championship level. I'm really hoping to be done in less than an hour, so we have some time to do some questions and answers. The third half of this is going to be for people who are here as volunteers. So most of you are on teams, many of you are volunteers, and so we'll spend the last 30 minutes talking about volunteering. All right, that is what we're up to. Now, let me start by telling you this is a lot like a poker game. We are dealing with making plans based on changing and incomplete information. And so we intend to do what we're telling you, but there are a lot of details still to be worked out. We're 75% sure that probably better than 75% sure that this is our plan for next year. However, there are some big details that haven't been worked out yet, and we may end up going back to the old way. So, you know, I'm a professional poker player in my off season. In fact, I'm actually headed for the World Series of Poker in about a week and a half. So in poker parlance, I think that we're about to shove all in on this whole thing. However, there are still some details yet to be worked out. So the reason for my telling you that is we're going to tell you everything that we know so far. We would like you to be considerate of the fact that we are likely to be doing this next year, but please don't spend any money or make any solid, absolute, definite plans that couldn't be changed when you come back in September. Okay. What is the district model? So what FIRST is asking us to do is to turn control of all the FRC events over to the local organizing committees. And we've got two of them in the Pacific Northwest. There's the Portland Organizing Committee and then the Washington FIRST Robotics Organizing Committees with a plural. And by turning control over, they're hoping that we can reduce the costs for the teams and also increase the number of events that the teams will get to play. So we want you to be able to play more times by moving to this thing. So the costs will be reduced by moving the FRC events out of the really big venues that we've been using into smaller venues like large high schools and colleges. The other key thing that's going to get done is we're going to pull the professional guys out of some of the key roles, mostly having to do with audiovisual and transportation and the video systems and such, and we're going to insert our volunteers with our own equipment. It turns out that when you look at the costs for an FRC regional, those guys are awesome. They do an outstanding job every time, but it's also a very, very big expense that we have to pay for. Okay? So we want to tell you, and we'll give you some more details about this, but we just want to let you know that we're not doing this alone. Michigan, we believe, has been doing this for about 4 or 5. I think it's going to be their 5th year next year. The Mid-Atlantic region, which is in Pennsylvania and sort of the Pennsylvania area, they did it this year for the first time in 2013. First is asked the Pacific Northwest region, which is Washington and Oregon, and they're also asking New England to go for this in 2014. You know, we're excited to be able to try this, and again, we're not the only ones doing this. So why is it that we're changing? So remember, our ultimate goal in all of this is to provide a very high quality experience for every school in our district in Washington, Oregon, and it may extend into Idaho and Montana as well. Okay, we want more than anything to allow the teams to play more for the investment that they've made. You know, you've put a lot of time and effort into this, and on average, a team gets to play probably about 10 times. We want to at least double that, and so to help do that, we need to reduce the amount of money that we're spending. The other thing is, you know, we're also very aware how much time it takes to do FRC, and so we're also hoping to reduce the amount of time that you spend at the events. And you'll see it in our scheduling a little bit later. We think we can shave a day off of your time commitment for going to an FRC event. And another really big one is, you know, we want the ability to bring in more of the people in your area in to see an event. And by distributing the events across the state, rather than just having 3 big events, we're going to have a whole bunch of events. We get more opportunities to get more of your team's peer groups and more of your team's local community schools involved in seeing what FIRST is doing for them. Okay. The other big thing is, as our program is growing, and you know, Washington grew to 113 teams last year, and we're expecting to grow again, and Oregon is looking for really good growth this year as well. The commercial venues we've been using, Memorial Stadium, Key Arena, CenturyLink, these are big, expensive venues, and they're actually kind of hard to reserve in advance. So this is another big benefit for us changing. Those venues are also very expensive. You have to use their on-site catering. The teams have to pay to use the on-site concessions. You can't bring your own money and stuff in. And all of that money is being drug out of your local STEM community in order to pay for all of that. So that is a big reason why we're changing it. FIRST recognizes that in order for the program to grow nationwide, they're going to try and implement this across the entire country by 2017. And so as a group, the organizing committees, we would like to go first and be leaders in this rather than being followers. Okay? So hopefully that set the stage for what it is that we're kind of up to. So let's talk about the timeline, what this means for you as a team. The timeline for the build season doesn't actually change much. It'll still be the first weekend of January through February 18th, and that's the lime green thing up there. The district level events will be happening in FRC parlance, weeks 1 through 6. But what that really means is, the first week will be February 27th through March 1st, and then right on down the line. In our large district, we expect to be running 2 events every weekend in various venues. And so what that means is that you will be able to choose 2 events that you're going to play at, and they can be back-to-back or a week or 2 in between, whatever works out best for your schedule. Okay, our final culminating event for all of these district level events is called the District Championship. The Pacific Northwest District Championship is very likely to be in Portland at Memorial Coliseum, and that will be this week here, the Blue Week in April, April 10th through the 12th. And you know what? I stand corrected on this, and I will fix the slide. It'll actually be the 9th through the 12th. It'll run just like every FRC regional you've ever been to. Okay, so I apologize. I need to fix the graphic.
Kevin, can I jump in real quick?
Yeah,
this is Deb.
Hi.
Hey, so guys, everybody on the call, normally we don't get to divulge, what week the regionals are until some secret date in, late October. So I'm just going to ask everybody, don't worry about making hotel reservations now. We will probably use Steel Meetings, because when you guys book through them, we end up getting about a $6,000 to $7,000 check kickback, which really helps offset our costs. And we won't start running those contracts until like September. So I'm just going to ask the community to not make hotel reservations in Oregon tomorrow. So thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. And like I said, and actually the next bullet, or the next 2 bullets, all of this stuff is very preliminary, but we just want you to get a feel for what this is going to look like. Okay. It may turn out that we end up moving the district championship earlier and run more events. I mean, there's a bazillion permutations to this, but this is sort of what we're thinking at the moment, and so that you have some foreknowledge as to what's going to happen. Okay, so World Championships is expected to be the last weekend of April, and I don't know whether that's been announced yet either, but that is, to the best of our knowledge, probably pretty accurate. Again, entirely subject to change. All of this is subject to change. Okay. I've led teams in the past. Everybody on our organizing committee has led teams in the past. Deb has led teams in the past. We get it. Pretty much all of the things that might be running through your head about everything from travel issues to timing and all the rest of that stuff. We get it. We really honestly do, and we will do our best to minimize all of those impacts. So we are sorely aware, or very aware, of exactly what the things that you're probably thinking right now. Okay. All right. It is, and it may turn out, based on venue availabilities and stuff, some of these schedules could end up being Friday, Saturday, Sunday, rather than Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Again, we don't have solid details on any of this stuff, so, but that is one potential kink that you may end up seeing next September. Okay. So where will the events be held? This is sort of our current thinking on the idea, is that we'll based on team localities and the venues that we have available, we expect and team densities, we expect to have one of our events in the Spokane area. We expect to have one of our events in the Central Washington area. We expect to have about 4 events in the greater Puget Sound region. And we expect to have 3 district events in the Portland corridor, the Portland I-5 corridor. And then the green star that you're looking at right there will be the Pacific Northwest District Championship. And again, all of this subject to change, but we've been out talking to schools, and we've got a number of schools in all of these areas who have stepped forward very graciously and have offered their facilities, and we're really excited about the acceptance of this. And so we are, I think that we're actually getting pretty close to being able to come up with the preliminary schedule for all of this. We don't have the exact details fleshed out yet, so I can't provide you which day and which school, but the map is sort of going to look like this. Okay. Now I'm going to back up one slide and tell you about our challenges doing this with incomplete information. We estimate that we'll have between 185 and 200 teams next year. Where those teams materialize, we don't know. Will they materialize? We don't know. So again, these are our best guesses based on our experiences and based on where we think growth is going to happen, and we could very well be wrong. So there you go. All right. Deb, we got a couple of questions. Do we?
Yeah, I thought one of the good ones was, I'm typing as I'm speaking here, is if the majority of the teams are Washington teams, why would we have the championship in Portland? Which is a good question. So do you want to answer that, or you want me to?
Sure. So it turns out that I think everybody who was at CenturyLink last year realized that when we switched to the new standard theater seating format, it really didn't work well for a FIRST venue, and it was also a very expensive venue. You know, when we did the double fields up there, for example, you're talking about an event that costs in excess of $300,000 to put on for the week. I think it was like $350 actually. And even last year's, you know, I'm kind of sharing you some of the inside info, but you can start to gauge why it is that we're moving some stuff around. Seattle has a very busy venues. Trust us, we have looked at all of them. We have evaluated all of them, and it turns out that the event, in Portland, they have Memorial Coliseum that we know how to use it. It has space for 64 teams, which we have a real tough time with in Seattle, other than CenturyLink. And yeah, we know about the Tacoma Dome and all the domes. They are all booked, and they're all very, very expensive. So, and it also has to do with funding. Deb's organizing committee down there is well funded. We have great sponsors who would like to see it in Portland. So there's just a variety of really good reasons. And it turns out that, you know, the Portland area is really well set up for this. Okay. There is any other questions we should look at here?
Some of them you're going to get to, so I'm going to hold off on them because it's on point ranking systems. And one is if they want to host an event. So I just quickly posted, if it's in Washington, let Michael or Kevin know. And then we should post somewhere, Kevin, or we can, I have we have a spec sheet that shows you how many square feet we need, how many seats we need, you know, no stairs, no elevators type things. So we can post that so you can kind of self-select before you give us a call.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And actually, it's on one of my slides too. So, yeah, if you think that you've got an outstanding venue, we'd love to hear from you. Some of the venues are better than others. We need big gyms. We need big gyms with big auxiliary gyms. Okay. All right. And we are watching the rest of your questions, and we believe we have slides to cover most of those. Brian is asking a very good question that I'll address, though, is what about the Idaho teams? Idaho teams, you are welcome to join the Pacific Northwest District. Same with Montana. You also have the option of going straight to Salt Lake. You know, so yeah, you will be able to join the district if you would wish to. We'd love to have you. Okay. Okay. And all right, so let me move on to the next slide. It's going to answer several of these other questions. So the district events, we're going to be in large high schools. We're looking for, you know, really big ones. So far, most of our venues will hold between 32 and 40 teams. We're really hoping to get 40 team events because if we do 32 team events, we have to actually increase the number of venues that we need. Okay, and again, we do not have exact venue set. If you have a really big school and your gym will seat at least 2,000 people, and preferably if we can get like 13 or 1,400 on one side or 1,500 on one side, okay, and you have a second gym with at least 7,000 square feet, we'd really prefer 8 to 10,000 square feet for the pits, and you have lots of parking and a shop space we can use, and somewhere within a 20-minute drive you've got a couple of hundred hotel rooms, or maybe 100 hotel rooms. I threw on 200 and I forgot to ask Deb about that. We'd love to, and you'd like to host it, we'd love to talk to you. You can contact me or Michael or Deb, and we'd love to hear about your facility. Okay. All right. And there are teams asking outstanding questions. We got answers to most of these coming up. Okay. So let me tell you about just in general. This is what a Thursday through Saturday event sort of looks like. You would show up Thursday after school, actually in the evening, okay? And so you don't need to be there all day Thursday. So we've removed that school day, okay? You show up sort of and do team arrival sort of stuff, the old drop off. Qualification matches run on Friday, and Saturday looks just like any other FRC event, okay, that you've come into in the past. Let me, I thought I had this slide. There we go. So in slightly better detail, you know, the pits will open somewhere around 5 o'clock. You can, you know, arrive any time between 5 and 10. Drop your stuff off, get your pit set up. You can work on your robot. We hope that you'll please get in the inspection line on Thursday. On Friday, the pits open at 8. Opening ceremonies aren't until about 10:30. Matches begin at 11. So we've sort of given you the time to get through inspection and stuff in the on Thursday night and Friday morning. And you know, we really hope that you can make it on Thursday night. We realize some teams probably may not make it till Friday morning just based on travel, and so. There you go. We're very accommodative. Opening ceremonies 10:30. Matches begin at 11, and we're going to run matches until 7 p.m. And then the pits will close at 8. Okay. Our awards will likely get all done on Saturday rather than having a Friday award ceremony. Okay. And then Saturday looks a lot like everything that you're used to. Right? Pits open at 8, pits close at 6. You know, it's an FRC event at that point. All right? I guess I think we're still on our way to getting there. So, Deb, any questions that we need to bring in?
I'm going to hold one right now, so go ahead and go through what you have, and we'll come back to it. So
okay. So what this means, though, is if you think about what we did in the past with, you know, you were there all day Thursday, you got an entire day to work on your robot. What we're going to do, how the district model works is that you still get your 30 pounds of prefab withholdings, and you get to work on it just like you did before. We are trying to lead the way here, and I will be talking with FIRST about this extensively next Wednesday when I go to New Hampshire. We are hoping to have a trained inspector visit your robot sometime before your event, okay? So that, and we'll take it out of the bag, and the trained inspector will inspect your robot and go through the checklists and point out where you're deficient, and then we will put it back in the bag. And that will give you time to plan for how you're going to fix it, okay? According to the rules, you get a robot access period, and you get 6 hours of it. And it's supposed to, in theory, be done the week that you compete. And in theory, you should get one of these each week before you compete. The nice part about this, by the way, is you now get to fix your inspection deficiencies at home in your own shop with your own stuff. And that could involve attaching your 30 pounds of prefab stuff, or you can still leave it out and bring your 30 pounds with you. But you get 6 hours in your own shop with your robot, okay? This is actually quite nice, and because it kind of sucks to have to show up and not only deal with putting up your pits, but then finding out that you have to make some really major change and then have to squeeze that all into one day. Deb, we got a question?
A couple of them were, well, one I want to jump on is Bud Hayes' about how do you handle the fact that school is most likely in session? So sorry, Bud, I sent you a smart alecky reply, but I'll let Kevin address how we work that out, because we do displace, we have to park off-site on Fridays because the students get their own and the teachers get their own parking slots, so that gets a little tricky. And then lunch is always very tricky, and we do displace gym classes. So
yeah, and so we've gone through the 7 or 8 schools that we visited here in Washington State, and we've had a very we're very upfront. Hey, we are going to impact your school greatly on Friday, and pretty much all of the principals nod their head and say, "Yep, we understand that you're going to greatly impact things." The one thing that we do have that's kind of nice is we've scheduled our lunch from 1 to 2 rather than being right in the middle of the typical lunch period for a high school. But yes, we are a definite impact on the school. There's no question about it. And honestly, all of the principals that we've spoken to so far in Washington State have said, yes, I identify that, but I think that this is very worthwhile and a good thing for our students to see and to be involved with, and we're willing to put up with the pain for a day. Okay? And when actually they put up with the pain, the gym classes put up the pain 2 days because setup actually starts on Thursday, and so we have the Wednesday night. So we actually have the gym all day Thursday, all day Friday. So gym classes, big impact, and so far everybody has been very, very gracious and accommodating for us. Okay. All right.
Kevin, there's one question that you maybe read the rule book more, but on when you go to state championships, is there more unbagged time? I don't believe there is, because at the district championship, you're back to the load-in Wednesday night, all day Thursday for practice rounds, inspection, play Friday, Saturday. And what happens is you just get a lot of practice rounds in because you've already passed most of the inspection.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, whoops. So Clark, I apologize. I say. Oh no, you got it. Never mind. All right. All right. I have lost my place, but that's okay. I'm going to find it in just a sec. Okay. So this is one of the changes that I wanted to make sure that you're aware of, is that and something for you to think about, but that's coming. Thursday, again, the sort of schedule overview, 5 p.m. load in. You're there till 10. Hopefully you can get inspections in, do a practice round or 2 or whatever, and then we're going to kick you out at 10 because the volunteers have to come back early the next day. All right? All right, so I'll pause here for a moment. I realize that I'm kind of whizzing through all of this stuff. Do we have any questions about the changes in the timeline for the week that you'd like to come up with? And Mike, we're going to get to advancement is coming up very quickly, I promise. Okay. All right, yeah. So, this is pretty straightforward. We're trying to follow the same formula that we've got because everybody knows how to do those. I just wanted to make you aware that there were some changes and most of it has to do with Thursday. Okay, let's talk about the registration costs. The district model registration fees are the same as they would be for a regular thing. The cool thing is your team gets to play twice for the same fee, and because these events are somewhat smaller, we anticipate that we're running more rounds for you. So, last year we ran a pilot program for First Tech Challenge where the teams played what we called the league format, and they were able to play more than once. It gave them a chance to go back, and they still had their, they were able to change their designs and their robots based on what they saw. And when they came back the next time, they were that much stronger for it. And I'm really hopeful that that is going to translate itself here as well. And if you've ever seen how many Michigan teams end up on Einstein over the years, I believe that that is actually the case that we will have. I believe that this will make us a better, stronger program. Okay. We will likely offer third plays if space is available. It'll probably cost like $1,000. We haven't actually thought this completely through, but you can expect it to cost some nominal fee to play again. However, only as you'll see in the advancement criteria, you won't be earning points for that. If you qualify to go to the district championships, there's an additional $4,000 registration fee. And again, this is going to be typical for all of the programs going forward. In fact, actually, FTC just added a super regional because we have to be able to take the teams and sort of whittle them down. Okay. Okay. Let's move. So registration fees. The registration fees okay, so I'm now going to drop you to talk about advancement, and then I'm going to go through some of the obvious questions that are coming up in everybody's heads. So let us get through a couple more slides, and I know that we're going to answer a lot of the questions that are coming up right now. Okay, advancement. Your team will accumulate points between the two district plays, and so we will be tracking everybody's multiple event points, and you will end up in a ranking system that way. The point system itself, there are a couple flavors of it currently in the works. There's one, the Michigan one. MAR has another one. I am on a task force, a national task force, and we will be haggling this out between all of these different ones and coming up with a uniform set of a point system for the entire country. We are supposed to finish that by the end of July. I have gotten input from many people around the Northwest. If you would like to tell me what you like or dislike about what the Michigan and MAR models are, and I will give you links to where those are, by the way. Please send me private email about that, and we'll deal with that. So I'm not going to get terribly deep into what all of that stuff means right now. Okay, there will be points or chances for advancement based on your play and from awards. I'm very adamant about the fact that there needs to be a path to get from the teams who are doing an outstanding job as regional chair people or engineering inspiration or rookie all-stars. They need to have a clear path to get to the championships, even though their robot may not be the strongest. Okay, and so there you go. There's my thing. Your third plays will not receive points. 64 teams advance to Pacific Northwest District, and that'll be out of the 185 to 200 teams. The results from Portland will advance, and so the results from Portland, in addition to your district plays, and again, that's something I won't go into the weeds in right now, but that will determine who the top ranked teams are. And so somewhere between 18 and 24 of the teams will advance to the First World Championship. That is another number that I need to haggle out, but it'll be we are going to try very hard to preserve the number of championship slots that we currently have. Okay? All right.
Kevin, I'm going to jump in real quick because there's a question of why it's 24 teams, why is it 18 to 24? And if you look at who we sent last year between Oregon and Washington, I think we sent, somebody probably has this number exact, like 16 to 17 of the 24 slots, because many teams play more than once. It's something like 80% of the teams that go to Worlds have always played at least 2 regionals, and then you think of that 20% or 10% being the rookies. So the reason that the number so number one, we don't always send 24 because we have double qualifiers because there's some powerhouse folks out there. The other reason is we're at max. If you've been to World Champions recently, we are sardined in there. We've hit our max. So even FIRST headquarters is talking about maybe only 4 or 5 teams in the normal regional schedule will get to go to Worlds because we just can't accommodate the growth.
So I promise, and I hope that you'll trust me, I promise, and I'm pretty good at this, I will arm wrestle very, very hard to make sure that we get as many of our existing 24 slots as possible. And this will be a negotiation with FIRST and all of the other regional directors, because like Deb said, the event is full. The championship event is full. So I hear you, yes, and there's a lot of people asking questions and doing things along these lines. And as I was reading through the questions, you have all asked excellent questions, and 2 of them I have actually written down as things to consider. But yes, we are trying to go up with the percentage. Yes, we are trying to we're trying to accommodate actually a lot of the things on this list, so I won't go through all of them. And I won't be able to give you any definitive answers right now. But however, like I said, my email address, kevinro@firstwa.org, and you're welcome to send me anything that pops out of your brain that you really, really think I should deal with, okay? All right. And Robert is pointing out that we should get 24. The reality is that we have 24 slots. The way the official rules will work right now across the country, whether it is district or not, is that if we don't advance teams up if for the awards, okay? And I won't go into it much more than that, but we already are in the case where we don't get our full 24, and nobody else does either. It isn't unique to us. So we'll get to it later. I'm about to head off in the weeds, and I don't want to go there. Okay. Somebody's asking a very good question. The inspector question. The number of inspectors that we need is going to be lower at these events. However, what we're intending to do is, I'm sorry, the question, one of the questions that was coming up was, how do the rural teams end up getting inspected when they're not really around a population center? We are going to train people in various areas, and it may be actually somebody that your team is going to designate as an inspector to go through as an inspector and inspect your robot. It is not the official inspection. You are not going to get your robot tagged as passed at your home inspection, but we are going to tell somebody on there exactly what's on the checklist, and somebody on your team will have the exact checklist, and we're going to instruct them in the same way we instruct our other inspectors, and you can go through that inspection on your own, or have some third party come in to do it. So that you know what it is that you need to fix. Okay, that is the goal. All right. Yes.
Kevin, do you want to take on the regional chairmen? How does regional chairmen? You only win that in district, and we don't award that at the district championship event. So those are decided out in the regions, correct?
Well, that is one of the things that we need to deal with. Mara does it one way, and Mar does it one way, and New England's thinking about something else, and Michigan does it another way. It is my belief that if you win regional chairmans or district chairmans, and you go to Portland, you will be put back in the pool for regional chairman. Only the teams that are in Portland as a result of winning chairmans will be competing for chairmans in Portland. So if you didn't win chairmans at your district level, you're ineligible for chairmans at districts championships. Does that make sense? I believe that what will happen is we will end up ranking them, and we will send our top 3 Chairman's Award winners so we will have multiple Chairman Award winners at the Pacific Northwest District Championship. So we're likely to have 3 of them. In fact, we're likely to have 3 engineering inspirations, and we're probably likely to try and have 3 rookie all-stars if we've got them. Okay. Hopefully that made some sense. Okay, so it isn't a win-loss. It isn't down to a win-loss on chairmans in Portland. You just have to be top 3. Okay.
I'm going to jump in because we're getting lots of questions about, so now it's $9,000 to try to get to Worlds, and then what about the rural teams that can't afford that extra $4,000 to go to the district championship play? So we hear you on that. It is extra money to, it's, again, average over 80% of the teams at World Championships already have invested $10,000 in fees to get there, a huge percentage, because if you guys have ever gotten to do a second play, you all know how much better mechanically your robot performs the second time out of the chute, because you've learned so much, your drivers are more experienced. So Dee, Peter Schick asked this, and I know you're in Roselia, and our, we'll do the best to kind of help with fundraising for those really rural teams that kind of tap out for just the first round. So we hear you. We don't have a great answer for you, except that we'll try to build a fundraising bucket to kind of help you guys out a little bit.
Yeah, and that's definitely our intent with Washington First Robotics is, we want to get a fundraiser. Hey, Deb, when you type your micro, it's really loud, by the way. If you can mute yourself before you type, it'd be great. All right. So you will only be, and of course, as with all other multiple event things, you're only eligible to win Chairman's Award at one of your district events, okay? And there's some other nuances to that, but the reality is it works just like it does now. You only get to submit chairmans once. All right, now, one of the downsides to this schedule, and again, this is going to happen to everybody sooner than, or actually fairly soon, since by 2017 we all go there, right? Is there's a pretty tight window between the Portland event and championships, and no, we really, really understand it, and this gives me heartburn to look at this. Our staff is working on, Adrian has been working on trying to figure out how to pre-reserve a large block of plane tickets, and we will be talking to FIRST with options on how to do this, since this is a pretty short time window. FIRST, to their credit, when we showed them our schedule, that was almost the first thing that came out of their mouth too. Michigan also does this exact same schedule, and they have the same problem. So we do really, really understand it. We've all had our teams go to World Championships on short notice. So give us a little time. We'll do whatever we can to mitigate that. Okay. All right. I'm going to try really hard to finish this up because I promised you guys we wouldn't do this for more than about an hour. I'm just checking the questions real quick. We will have, by the way, a record of all of these questions, and if we don't get a chance to follow up with you, we will. Okay, so so for us, what we wanted you to understand about when you're thinking about things next year is there are some changes to how FIRST runs. We're no longer going to be in these really big coliseums and venues. And so a typical seating at one of our events now is going to be somewhere between 1,200 and 1,800. Okay. If 40 teams brought 30 people, that's about 1,200. Okay. You know, some of the larger teams, and we have some really big teams in the Puget Sound area, we might need your help in spreading your less involved participants. Maybe you could divvy those up and spread them across events or something like that. So there may need to be a little bit of I don't want to call it a quota, but we may need to work out some of the logistics of having things like that. Smaller venues may require smaller pits. And I shudder at this myself. If we end up in really small venues, and we're trying hard not to do that, but we can put 32 teams with 8x8 pits on a basketball court. And we are desperately seeking schools that have more pit space. Pit space is the key factor in finding a venue. We fit on a basketball court, and so we can handle that. It's the pits that are a problem. Okay. Reason I say this: if you are planning on designing a new pit for this summer, over the summer, or planning investing in something, there may be times when we have to shrink your pit. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right. Another thing that you need to kind of consider is that we are going to be in high schools. High schools are typically in suburban or urban areas. The bigger high schools that we've been looking at are tending to lean more towards the suburban to almost rural areas. We are very aware that people are traveling, and so we're trying to make sure our venues are not too far from essential services. But you know, you won't be able to run across the street and grab food at a lot of these venues. So just, you know, again, just little logistic things to think about. The cool thing is, and what's going to be a huge budget saver for all of us, this is a huge yay, is you can bring your own food and water to all of these venues, and that will save you a ton of money. In general, all of the venues will have concessions available, and it'll be pretty much all of our local schools have asked, can we have a concession operation? So I think that is actually a huge benefit for all of us, okay? Because we know that's a pretty big chunk of change. All right. Okay, so now you know about as much as we do. And we're getting some great questions about venues. Yes, colleges are being considered as venues. Colleges are substantially more expensive in general. Most of the colleges, they're very gracious in letting us use their facilities. Their facilities people are not normally quite as gracious about letting us wiggle out of union contracts and catering contracts. There are increased expenses there. There are not a lot of great facilities for us. We've got Eastern and Central. They've been awesome to us. On the west side, it's hard for us to get these venues in colleges during the month of March. Every college believes that their team is finally going to make the Final Four. So they don't typically book their basketball courts during basketball season. So that's a big problem. Okay. There are, many of you are coming up with very, very good questions. Yes, Bruce, we will have overnight security. We understand that. let's see, some other good questions that have come up. David's asked, David asked, should we be able to charge admission to maybe help pay for things? Not at the moment. We're not quite ready to go there yet. It may be something we need to consider, but it is something that we may not be able to do. It gets complicated for a number of reasons I won't go into. Okay. How early will we know where the competitions will be held? My guess is that we will start lining up some of our venues to make sure that we get things arranged. We should know where they are, where all of them are sometime in September. Whether we publish it earlier or not, I'm not sure. There's not a great deal of upside to knowing exactly where they are before registration is, but there is a potential downside to us by releasing a list that we end up modifying later. So we may or may not actually issue that list. Can teams go to district events and also go to conventional regionals elsewhere? Yes, you are welcome to compete in our district model and go to Salt Lake or California. That's 100% okay. Having teams from outside come into the district is a sticky spot with the district model. At the moment, we don't have plans to allow that. Mostly it has to do with our planning purposes. So like the Mexican teams probably wouldn't elect to come up and play one event, nor would we allow them to go direct entry into our championship event. There's just a fairness issue there. Randy Steele is pointing out, have you considered Evergreen State College? The chances are the Geo Ducks are not going to go to the Final Four. Thank you for that. That's great. Yes, we have looked at Evergreen, and they are a potential place for us. They didn't have quite enough pit space, and the building was. There were other deficiencies in the building. We certainly have not ruled any of these sites out, but yes, we are looking into it. Trust me when I tell you, we have looked at every venue in Western Washington, and so we get it. Okay.
Kevin, can I just jump in? I'm just going to kind of share some ballpark financials. I know a lot of people are trying to figure out, the cost to teams and the cost to run the events.
Sure.
And we can't promise that we're going to have a bucket of money to help out these rural teams where another weekend of travel and overnights, is a make or break deal for them. But just to give you guys an idea, an event in Puget Sound costs us close to $300,000. A high school venue event's going to cost us around $20,000. Big difference in costs. Taking all those big, what we do in regional events, even a college can cost us around $100,000 to $125,000. So not that we can promise money, but the big reason, the overall picture is that's why we're moving down to these high school district models, is because it frees up cash in a lot of ways. So I just want to make sure people know that it's a 10%, the 90% cost reduction on venue space. Does that make sense?
Yep. And and everybody's and Ken and many people are asking the same basic question: is yes, our hope and our goal and our dream in life is to be able to go out and still raise the necessary funds to run the program, plus some, and be able to give that back to teams that are in need. Because we fully understand the trials and tribulations of doing teams. We've all run them, and especially in rural areas, we get it. We understand that there's a gas station in Spangle, Washington. Rosalia's got the same problem. All of the little towns across eastern Washington have the same issues, and we really, really hope that we'll be able to help out. I wish I could sit here and promise you that we'll have millions of dollars to hand out. I can't. It's my dream. It's my hope. It's our board of directors' goal to do that, and so we are thinking of you daily on how we can make this better and how we can help fund teams, because our stated goal at Washington First Robotics is by 2020 to have FIRST available in every school in the state of Washington. We're getting there. We're almost 30% of the high schools. We're in about at least 20 to 22% of the middle and elementary schools, right? We're trying really hard to get there. And so this is going to help us, okay? All right. Here's one that's come up multiple times. So it has been considered that local teams can host teams that have to travel to reduce the cost of hotels and food. We would love to have that happen. We've never had a formal way of doing that in the past. But Sharon, the other 3 or 4 people who asked the same question, if you guys continue to pester me about it, I will make sure that it gets on our how the heck do we organize this list, okay? So I want, there's going to be a slide, there's going to be, in a few minutes, we're going to switch over to talking to our volunteers. And, but I just want you to realize what it is that we as volunteers have signed up for. And so I'm going to just show you one slide out of the volunteers. In the past, we've had an event committee, and the event committee has gotten a bunch of volunteers together. FIRST has hired the FTA and has trained this person, and so that's one of the paid positions that would normally be over here on the right. And we have an outstanding group of volunteers to do this end. What we are doing is this whole area over here was all run by professionals, okay? The audio, the video, the arranging of the venues, the arranging of the catering, the arranging of the transportation of fields, setting up the entire road show that goes with this, with all of the, transporting the field is actually an enormous job. Getting the carpet, I mean, there's a huge amount of logistics that we are now going to be picking up. And so I want you to realize that, we've taken on a Herculean task in moving to the district model, and we get it, and we love this program. We love you guys. The students are the complete focus of my entire life, and so we are going to do everything we possibly can to make this as good and as enjoyable as we possibly can. Part of this, though, I got to turn back around on you guys and ask for your help. If you would like us to come up with new things that don't exist yet, such as ways of hooking up teams that are willing to house traveling teams and those sorts of things, we would love to have some of you, if you're passionate about that, help us out. Jump in and help us do this, because this was a pretty much full-time volunteer gig for me last year, and for, well, actually for at least the past 7 years. It's going to be way more than that this year, and a lot of the people that you recognize as our key volunteers have very graciously and very willingly and knowingly signed up for a very big job this year. And so new stuff that you would like to have done, talk to me about it. But if you're going to talk to me about it, be prepared for me to ask you and delegate that job to you. How does that sound? That's part of my please come be a volunteer speech for you. Okay? So with that, we could belabor all of this stuff for a long time. You now know a great deal about what's going to happen. And so I have one more thing that I really, really want to take an opportunity to say. And I don't know, you may or may not know this yet, but Michael Campbell, who has been our regional director for the past 3 years, is retiring at the end of the month. And he and his lovely wife are about to move off to Paris and go spend a year traveling around Europe and doing all of the cool things. And I would be totally remiss if I didn't take an opportunity to point out, Michael has put his heart and soul into working for you guys and working for FIRST, and has really brought has taken what Deb and I started and really put up a very professional look on our board of directors, and has managed to establish connections all across the state of Washington, and the impact of what he has done in these years is going to be felt for many, many years to come, and something that we're really, really proud of. And I have learned so much working with Michael. Michael is the ultimate politician and smoother of rough spots. I am much more like a hammer when it comes to problems. Michael puts such great finesse, and we ended up actually being, I think, a very, very good team. And so we'd just like to wish Michael the best, since this is probably the last big meeting that we will have together. So I know that he's probably sitting there very sheepishly kicking his shoe, but thank you so much, Michael, for everything you've done for the entire Pacific Northwest FIRST community. It's really amazing, and I think you're leaving a great legacy. Go ahead and say something.
I'd rather acknowledge you and well, thank you, but I'd rather acknowledge the work that you and Deb have done. So it's been really fun.
All right. Well, and have a great time in Paris. All right. So with that, I've reached the end of our hour for the teams. There's going to be more to come. We'll let you know. We'll give you as many updates as we can. Like I said, for all we know, we're going to find some problem. There are some big hurdles yet that we don't know about. And as soon as we know the answers to these things, we will share them with you and let you know for sure that we're going forward with this. Okay? All right. Well, let's now, we have a whole group of people who are also here to hear about volunteering. And so I would like to now go to the attendee list. Oh, there it is. And we're going to go find the boss. And where is she? Where is she? R. Well, there's a lot of R's. There's a lot of S's. Wow, there's a lot of people on this call. Very cool. There you go. Susan is about to come online. I just made her a staff person or a presenter, and I'm going to unmute you. I think I'm going to unmute you. Hi, Susan.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
I can. All right. So who I've just brought online is, for all of you who are interested in finding about volunteering, is Susan Martucci is the volunteer coordinator for Washington FIRST Robotics. She has been our volunteer coordinator since 2007, and is sort of our senior volunteer coordinator for all of the events in the state of Washington. And when I say all of our events, we have a lot of them. And so, so Susan is going to help me out with this part of the presentation, which she hasn't seen, so she'll be she will be sort of jumping in as time goes through. Okay,
we'll wing it.
We'll wing it. Okay, so first of all, what is it that we do as the volunteers, and especially now as we're moving to the district model in FRC, we now are going to be doing everything. Okay, and so it's going to be everything from field setup, judges, AV, pit admin. You know, we've already been doing those jobs in the past, but you know, now we're down to, you know, all of the AV setup and the transportation and the logistics and the catering and a bunch of other stuff. Okay, so the cool thing I think about the district model is that we have now opened up so many more volunteer positions for everybody that you know, we've got some people who have been in their key volunteer role for so long, you know, chances of getting them out of there are small. But now we've got so many more replicates of that I'm really excited about the fact that we've opened up opportunities for people who really want to come in, volunteer, and make a big difference. We have a spot for you now, and we're excited about that. I know that many of you signed up on our key volunteer list and some of our other volunteer lists over the past few months, and I have done a poor job communicating with you because we weren't exactly sure which direction to go with all of this. But now we're starting to get more clearer, and so we wanted to give you an opportunity to see what it is that's coming up. Okay. And I'm just going to. Part of this was a presentation. I gleaned out of a presentation that I'd done earlier, but Oregon has the exact same issues that we do. So I kind of, every time you see First WA, think Pacific Northwest. Okay, but these are the growth rates for our programs over the past 7 years. And, you know, in 2009, 2010, we were looking at these going, yeah, you know, it's going to level off. Really, it's got to level off. But you can see by our growth rates, we're starting to get upward inflection points, and which is cool. That means that the quality of our programs are outstanding. The number of participants is growing. We're doing exactly what we wanted to do. But what that means is that we need to start running more and more and more events. Okay, and so what is it that's making FIRST succeed in the Northwest? Okay, and a big role of that is that, you know, we're managing all 4 programs in Washington State, and we have a great group of leadership volunteers and a board of directors, and Deb has one as well in Oregon, that are really dedicated to the success of all these programs. Okay, and we're kind of considered in the Northwest to be sort of a leader in how all of this operates nationally, and we have many of our key volunteers are also leadership people at FIRST. Okay, so that's what makes us succeed. What are our risks? Well, it's those same things. We're doing all of this, and we have the same leaders doing all of these things, and our programs keep growing. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to recruit some more volunteers and get more people involved. And the district model is a prime example of that. You know, if we're running events. We're running 2 events a weekend for 5 weeks. There are plenty of opportunities to bring in new people into all of these roles. Okay. So we have a number of types of volunteers. Okay, and for some reason, this is not intentional. I don't know why the bottom ones are grayed out. I imported this presentation from a previous one, and it had some issues. So I'm not demeaning anybody. I don't know why that's dim. Okay, so we have student volunteers who help us out with queuing and runners and setup and those sorts of things. We have what we consider the positions that are required to be filled by adults and mentors, and those are judges, referees, and key administrative positions. We have trained volunteers, and these are people who are trained in advance to do the AV, to do field setup, pit admin. You know, we'll help train you and get you up to speed on how to do your job. Okay, and then we also have certified people, and these are typically trained by FIRST or by Washington FIRST Robotics, and these are, you know, the head referees and the field technical advisors and judge advisors. Some of these require going back to FIRST to get trained for. Others you're certified online and doing those sorts of things. Okay, student volunteers love them. You typically show up, you know, at the event, and we've got jobs for you, and they're great jobs, they're important jobs, field reset and all those sorts of things. And a lot of the adult volunteers are the same way. We got referees and stuff. Well, we're looking for a lot more people who would like to be our trained volunteers and get involved with things that need to be set up beforehand, know how to use the AV systems and those sorts of things. And so they sort of fall into our key volunteer pool, and we need to make that much bigger. Some of the things that we've seen with the other district models is they've got people doing 5 or 6 weeks of events in a row. Okay, a lot of us did 3 events this year by doing. We did Seattle, Seattle, Ellensburg, and Cheney in a row. We did those 3 weeks in a row. It was exhausting, and I don't believe that's a sustainable model. And so we're about to do basically 7 weeks in a row. We're going to do 6 weeks of these district events and then a championship or a district championship, and we don't want to burn anybody out. Okay, so that's where all of these new positions are going to come from. So what we're looking for are people that would like to take on some of these key roles. Okay. My preview system is gone. There's some bug in the slide viewer, so I don't know what the next slide is. Oh, okay, yay. Susan, actually, I'm sorry. How am I doing? Do you want to jump in here?
You're doing great. No,
okay.
no, you're doing very well.
Okay, so the properties of a key volunteer for us, and we want you to have some experience with FIRST. Now, if you're new to FIRST and would like to be a volunteer, we have a ton of opportunities for you. We have we're running in Washington State. We run. Our group runs FTC, FLL, and JFLL. We have a ton of events, and in fact, if you end up looking at our calendar, which we promise to post very soon, we have basically events every weekend from the first the second to last weekend of November all the way through well, actually now all the way through April. There's tons of chances for you to get involved, even if you just want to come to be a day volunteer with us, okay? And so I really invite you to help us out there, and we'll train you. We don't necessarily need you to be an expert in your thing, okay? But as you develop experience with FIRST and gracious professionalism and setting the tone for the event, you're likely to become one of our key lead volunteers, okay? And so to be a key volunteer with us, though, we kind of, we expect you to be experienced with FIRST, know what gracious professionalism is, know how to be able to feel like you're able to work with people graciously, even when they're completely untrained and never done something before, and be able to direct them on how we do things in FIRST, okay? And so the ability to train and plan others and good communication skills. Those are the key volunteers that we're striving to find. And my apologies, my slides are actually out of order, but that's okay. This was supposed to be the first slide. Okay, so what we need to do is we need more people that can handle these things. And I think what really makes our world stand apart from kind of the rest of the country, the Northwest, we do a really good job at using the same skill set and the same level of dedication across all 4 of our programs. And a really important part of that is having a good understanding of the importance of the rituals and the ceremonies that we put in place to make sure that the students and the volunteers and the mentors all have that sense of community that really makes us so effective in the Northwest. And so, part of what we need are people who get that and understand that and are willing to help us with that. And it's not always easy. It's getting up in front of the audience, for example, to do an award ceremony or to do alliance selection. There's some pomp and circumstance to doing that part of an event. And it's important to us that part of the ritual and ceremony be there. And so if you're somebody who would like to get in there and help us with that sort of thing and help us carry the traditions across all of our programs, we'd love to talk to you, okay? This takes time to be a key volunteer, so we're also looking for people or groups of people who are willing to put the hours in to make this really happen. And I'm going to apologize. I'm going to now have to wing a few things because for some reason the last slides I had to recover this file that I sucked into this one, and some of the slides are no longer here, and I apologize about that. I intended to show you the calendar of events that we need to staff up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going actually to roll back.
Well, Kevin, don't we take off Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day? And
Yeah.
that's about it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Susan kind of hit it right on the head. And one of the things we're trying to get away from is relying on the same small group of people. We're going to be there anyway, but the reality is it would be nice for some of the say 30 or 40 people who basically run every event in the Northwest. It'd be nice to give these folks a day off now and then. And so let me, I will end up putting, I will try to put the calendar into the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint's actually already up on the web, and I'll show it to you. But let's talk just for a moment about the district model, since that's many of you have come to talk about the district model. What we're kind of hoping to do is we're hoping to put together enough people that will come to the first week 1 event, especially the untrained people, or come to our week 0 event, which is going to be the 16th and 17th. Week 0 being that's going to be the scrimmage event that teams are going to show up at. We're hoping that we, somewhere in the Northwest, we will be able to set up our official FRC fields and run practice rounds. But what we really want to have happen is we'd love to have some folks come up on Friday evening, the 14th of February. I know it's Valentine's Day. Picked a bad day, sorry. But come up, help us set up the field, and learn how to set up the field, how to set up the audio systems, and sort of know what it's going to show up in the truck, so that when it comes time to do the events out in the field, you might be able to work, say, the 2nd week and the 4th week, and you'll know what's coming, and so you'll have some training on how to do those sorts of things. Okay? And then we'd love to, so we're looking for people that would like to sign up to do, say, 2 events, or even 3 events. We don't want to find people that are signing up to do 5 events in a row, okay? And remember, we're doing 2 events per week, so there'll be some events in Washington, and then we'll do some in Oregon, and then, you know, if you look at my, if I show you the map, you know, let's say you're a Seattle-based volunteer, we're likely to do, say, this event on the 1st week, and then we might do this event on the 3rd week, right? So there'll be a week in between. And then we're likely to do, you know, we're likely to alternate the events a little bit, so that you'll have a little bit of time in between. But then we need to fill in people on the other weeks. So I'm sure that's making sense to everybody. You sort of get the gist of it. But we're trying to avoid burning anybody out. Okay. So and then we'll need the same. You know, this will be a great way to train up people to do the event here in Portland as well. Okay, so we've got 10 events to run. I'll be honest with you. There's a strong chance that we'll run 12 events, and it just depends on what size schools that we can actually find. Okay, so how are we doing on questions? Deb, anything we need to cover? Yeah, so several people point out that we're running multiple events per weekend. Yes. All right. So the basic idea is that we will have 2 traveling road shows. The 2 traveling road shows for FRC will be coming out of, they'll probably be based in Seattle. Sort of the way this works is that Washington FIRST Robotics is a 501c3. We will end up being the owners of the equipment, and owners and maintainers of the equipment. And the way that we've been working with our dear friends in Oregon is we sort of said, well, I tell you what, why don't we take on the fiduciary responsibility for running the district model in both states, if you guys will take on the fiduciary responsibility for running the championship and working that angle of it. Plus, though, we will be managing the supplies and logistics, but we need local volunteers in Oregon to actually physically run the event. We may send 1 or 2 down, but we need local people to actually run the events down here. All right? So that means that there's a lot of training and stuff that needs to be done. So now I'm going to zip back to the calendar. So we'll be training people, and I wish I had a longer calendar. We'll actually be training up and playing with this stuff at several events during the fall and winter. And we'll probably have training, both online trainings and in-person trainings somewhere up in the Seattle area. And we'll do it on the weekends so that we're not impacting anybody's work schedule. Okay? All right. Did that make sense to you, Susan? Did I spit that all out? Okay. Yeah. All right. So what sort of questions are we looking for? Now, I have to zip all the way down to the end because there we go. It turns out that all of our events, including FLL and FTC and FRC, not so much JFLL because those are pretty lightweight, but all of our events actually have all of these positions available. Some are more. It takes
a lot to run an event.
It does take a lot to run an event, okay? And so what we're looking for is people who would, hey, if you think you'd like to get into the audiovisual stuff, help us with the sound system or the video system or streaming or setup or tear down of all of that sort of equipment, love to talk to you. And if you think that you could help us out with some of the event logistics, we have to feed all of these people. Decorating doesn't mean, well, decorating could mean a lot of things, but for us, decorating in the event world actually means, setting up the pipe and drape, setting up the pit areas, getting all the pit signs up, the team numbers and all the rest of that stuff, making the show look right and set up and ready to go. Transportation, that's less of an issue with, it is still an issue, but sort of a less of an issue with FLL and FTC. But FRC, this is an enormous logistics issue. Getting all this equipment set up for all of these events is in the roadshow logistics stuff, making sure that the competition fields for each of our FLL, FTC, FRC, making sure all that stuff's ready to go. We need help in the Seattle area, getting all that sort of stuff set up and ready to go. And it turns out that the way that we intend to do this, we are using all of the same equipment across all of these events. So we're hoping that even if you're hoping to just help out at an FRC event, the FTC and FLL events are usually one-day events, and you'll be setting up and tearing down the exact same equipment. The only real difference for us is in the size of the field. Okay, so a lot of great opportunities to get involved and to learn stuff and to really help us as an entire community. My ultimate goal is to have groups of people that we can call on that know how to do production, know how to do audio. You come in, you set it up. It becomes like second nature. You walk in, you know what supplies that we have for you. You know how to run our equipment and get it all set up and have fun with it. Okay. Any questions about that sort of stuff? Fred's asking, at what point in time will we get information on which events we'll be able to volunteer for? Great question. It'll probably be in September. Actually, if you have never visited our website before, I know many of you have, but some of you haven't. Our website, meaning that this is the Washington First Robotics website. Since we we are taking the responsibility for managing the volunteers and the staffing for all district events. So yes, I know it says Washington First Robotics on it, but this actually does include you Oregon folks that would like to get involved and work with us doing the district model events in Oregon. We are going to manage you through the Washington FIRST Robotics site. We are one big happy family. It would get confusing for me to start calling Washington FIRST Robotics the Pacific Northwest Robotics site. Someday we will get there, but it will cause issues dealing with FTC and FLL in Oregon. It's a long, drawn-out story. But if you are volunteering for FRC district events, you will be working with Washington FIRST Robotics. I hope that made sense. Okay. If you go up here to, well, first a couple of things. If you go up here to volunteer, go to webinars. Oh, whoops, sorry. Take that back. Go to FRC, come down to webinars, and come over here to district model. You will find, this is a link to the slides you've been viewing. There will be a link to the video up here. There's a whole lot of information in here about the district model events from Michigan and MAR. Okay. Okay, so I had forgotten to put that in, but hopefully there's still actually a lot of team people involved here. So if you're looking for details on those, that's where it is. For our key volunteers, if you go to this key volunteer site, and I know some of you have already done that, but you can see a list of the sort of jobs that we're looking for. Okay, so rather, I didn't want to try and put all these on a slide. We'd take hours going through these slides. Okay, but you can see what programs they sort of apply to, what the various positions are. And I know that some of you have signed up already. Thank you. We do still have your name. We have a database it's all in there. For the new folks, if you've never signed up on our key volunteer list before, please do so. And there is a form, and you can get to it right here, how to apply. And please go ahead and fill out this little form. It's not very complicated. You can tell us what programs you would like to work with. A new field that we just added, we need your year of birth. Some of our volunteers, we used to have age ranges, but some of our volunteers signed up so long ago, we still think that they're teenagers, but it turns out they're in their mid-20s. So we're now asking for your year of birth so that we can just remember who the heck you are. Okay? And you can tell us, and again, go back, check out that list of volunteer positions that we have available, and you can find, if you find something that you're interested in, if you want to do field operations or production or work on the organizing committee sort of level, or we need game announcers. We need everything, really. Let us know that you're interested. This is not a commitment. This is us knowing that you're here to do this, and this is us being able to get a hold of you and let you know when we get our act together to the point where we can actually have you sign up for stuff. Okay, so look forward to having you do that. There are, so anyway, again, rather than my going through all of this, I'm going to leave that as an exercise to you as the very interested reader. Okay, so let's, we got some questions. How did I do? What did I miss, Susan?
I think you did great. Just a reminder for key volunteers that typically in the fall at our events for FLL and FTC, those are generally held one day at a time, a complete event. We may have set up the night before, but a typical event is one day and most often on a weekend. So it's kind of easier for key volunteers to do that. When we get around to our district events, you saw from the calendars that we will have events that span over the weekend, kind of starting Thursday night to Saturday. And just a reminder that a lot of these key volunteer positions, we don't really have the mechanism in place for just coming in on a Saturday. So think about your schedule when you're thinking of these key volunteer roles, that you probably are going to need to do a Friday, Saturday, and most likely a Thursday, Friday, Saturday if you're in a truly key supervisory role.
Yeah, and and volunteers, I forgot to tell you this, actually many of our key volunteers, especially setup and field people, you're actually Wednesday through Saturday, because we set up starting on Wednesday evening, okay? That way, but the cool thing is that we believe we can get everything set up on Wednesday night, and then just the FTAs and maybe one or two key people need to be there on Thursday during the day. Okay, so we're trying to be very, very cautious with your volunteer time and with your family's vacation time. So we are very, very much aware that that some of our volunteers use up all of their vacation with us, and God love you. I mean, we really appreciate it. We know you're having a great time with us, but we don't want to overstay our welcome. Okay. Do past Oregon key volunteers need to sign up again through Washington website? Yeah, would you? We would really much appreciate it. Especially if you would like to work with the district model. We'd just like to have everybody who wants to work district model events sign up with us. And that way we can get a hold of you. And really what we're asking for right now is your contact information and what sort of area you'd like to work in. Okay. What's eventually going to happen is we are going to have our lead key volunteers, and we have some people who have been doing this a long time who have agreed to be the lead key volunteers, and they will work with our lead volunteers that will, there'll be probably groups of 5 or 6. They will work together as a group to plan all of the events so that we don't have to duplicate too much work. Okay. So yes, Paul's asking is the presentation going to be on YouTube? Yes. It should be up there sometime tonight. The link for it will be on that web page that I showed you up here. It'll be on this district model briefing. Oh, sorry, this is a different view of that. Let me log that one out. It'll be on FRC webinars district model, and there'll be a link for it right here as soon as I get it uploaded. Okay, is that all right? Everybody can find that, and I will email it to you. Yeah, if you were on the emails that I was sending, I will send up a follow-up with that. Thank you for that great question. Ed is pointing out that that for FRC FLL or for many of these events, actually for all of our events. This is a great outreach for some activity for some of the larger teams. Yes, 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 absolutely. If your team would like to host an FLL or FTC event, you may contact me, and we will see what we can do. And I believe you would find very, very accepting people in Oregon. Kathy Sweeter and team would probably also love to talk to you if you would like to help out at events. Am I overreaching there, Deb? Do you kind of agree with that?
No, she's running 42 events. She would love to have some help.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I can't remember the last time there was a regional chairman's award winner that somewhere in the regional chairman's award wasn't involved in either FTC or one of the FLL programs. So if your team is thinking, hey, we'd like to have a better shot at doing this, and it is an outstanding opportunity for your students. And just as one last bonus, we will sign their community service slips because a lot of schools require teams or students to have community service during the year. This is a great way to knock all sorts of things out of the park. Okay. And so Andrew has asked a really great question, and allow me to take this opportunity if you've been volunteering with us for a while. I made a complete mess out of the entire volunteer registration thing, and I'm sorry about that. It turns out that and because I wasn't watching, we have this volunteer form. We have this volunteer form that takes you to logistics. We have another one that takes you to VIMS, and I have yet another one that signs you up as a key volunteer. And a couple of these were not being actively monitored. I apologize for all of that. We promised to do better. We did badly. We acknowledge that. So the relationship between our volunteer forums and VIMs is that our volunteer forums are in the past have only been for FLL and FTC. However, now that I've told you that, for the district model, especially for trying to recruit our key volunteers, we are now using the Key Volunteers application, this one, to gather up all the information we need for people who want to be in the key volunteer role. Why, you're asking? VIMS does not open up until sometime in September. We would like to start talking to you now, okay? And at some point in the future, yeah, go ahead, Susan.
Can I just have another clarification with VIMS? Volunteer coordinators who are assigned by FIRST to monitor VIMS, they cannot see volunteers until a volunteer picks a specific event. So for instance, in this district model, until you could be in VIMS, most of you are in it already, but until you pick an event for that 2013-14 season, volunteer coordinators can't technically see you. It's a privacy issue. So again, that's why we want to get some things locally with Washington FIRST Robotics in the Pacific Northwest, so we can contact all of our volunteers outside of the VIMS arena, whether you've signed up for a specific event or not. Does that clarify a little bit?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and it's one of, I have a long series. The first people are going to, I swear to God, they're going to be so sick of me next Wednesday.
Yeah, they're not going to like you.
No, they scheduled 2 hours. I fully expect to keep them for 4. I have a meeting with all of the department heads to talk about a whole list of stuff, because I really only get out there once a year or once every other year. So anyway, we promise we're going to make this better. Remember, we're all volunteers, including me. So we're doing our best. So bottom line, yes, if you would like to volunteer for the district model events and be in on it early, which the fact that you're here right now tells me you want to be, please go fill in this key volunteer application. There are the geography issues. When I originally did this, we didn't have a central Washington, but really honestly, what we're looking for is, are you sort of in the Seattle area? Are you in Eastern Washington? Will you use Spokane for a proxy for Eastern Washington, or are you in Oregon? And honestly, we all cross boundaries all the time. If you've ever been to a Portland event, probably about 20 or 30% of the volunteers are from Washington. If you ever come to a Seattle event, about 20 or 30% of the volunteers are from Oregon. You know, we're all over the place. So, but this way we just have an inkling of what region that you're kind of in. So, is that good? Any other questions about how to sign up on this? We don't spam you. We promise not to. What I would like for you to fill out right now is this key volunteer application. It is on the Washington First WA. It's under volunteer, key volunteers, key volunteer application. That'll bring you to this screen right here. If you fill that in, we've got you as somebody who is interested in helping with the district model and this more broad stuff. You are not committing to anything. You are interested. And we will talk to you more. Okay.
So I'm going to jump in real quick, Kevin. I know it's late, but just I want everybody to think of, for FRC, Oregon and Washington is now one big happy family. It's going to all be run with these key volunteers that will train down to the district models. So I'm just watching all the questions up here, and we will be communicating a ton to you, because a lot of you guys have had key leads and key positions and other, you know, at your own regional events, and we love you, and you definitely, we will be using you. So hang tight on how we're going to kind of organize that when we get to that point. But just for clarity, everybody's asking, how does this work in Washington? How does this work in Oregon? Think of us as one big happy family running under one umbrella, which will be FIRST Washington Robotics. That's how our district events will be run, and then the Pacific Northwest District Championship will be run the same as it always has for the past 10 years.
Yeah. And you know, the reality is when we first started talking about this, Deb and I first started talking about this, there was originally a thought, oh, does Oregon and Washington do different ones, and it just felt wrong. So we really are one big group. I think it's fair to say that Washington and Oregon, the FIRST communities are more tightly bound than pretty much any of the other sort of state boundaries that we've seen across the country. And you know, it's you know, and it's a very, very good thing. It's a very natural thing for us. That's how we think of it. Okay. All right. David McKinnon is asking, so in 2017, when everyone's in the district model, does that mean teams will be no longer flying across the country to attend events? That is an outstanding question. And one of the things that I'm going to be talking with FIRST about is, at some point, when do we start allowing inter-district play, and do we transfer points and all sorts of stuff like that? Don't know at this point. We won't know for probably quite some time.
Well, and I'm going to jump in on that, because part of the district events is to cut the costs for FRC. So the reason you guys can't go in and register for a Michigan event is because they're taking care of their own kids. You know, Michigan teams get first dibs on all those spots, and I anticipate that Kevin and I will watch your back. We're not going to let a bunch of California teams or, you know, Oklahoma teams come in and swoop up spots so that you guys have to be pushed out into hotel situations. That's not the point of what we're doing. So there will probably, we've kind of in Washington been used to a lockout. You know, for a couple of years, only Washington teams could register for Washington regionals. You're probably going to see something similar, because the whole point is to get your guys' travel expenses way down.
Yep. And you know, and part of that, just so everybody realizes that, you know, we're trying to raise local funds to support our local teams, and it's not, and you know, so there are some boundaries that have to be set, and there are Idaho teams, you know, we'd love to bring Idaho into the Pacific Northwest region and Montana. We just haven't quite gotten there yet with the other parties involved, and there's some there are the list of logistics issues with this is fairly long, but we'd love to have the North Idaho teams come join us in Spokane. I mean, it just makes sense. You're right there, for crying out loud, right? The teams in Southern Idaho, God, you're awfully close to Salt Lake. Why would you have to make the trip all the way up north? You're just not close enough, right? So we're trying to be very respectful of people's situations, and you know, we don't want to exclude anybody. But you know, we also, you know, if the pink team wanted to come and play just one event up here, we kind of probably say no. You know, so we're not trying to exclude anybody. All right. All right, and Naveed have posted. You posted notes on. Oh, okay. Thank you, Naveed. I'll take a look at those. Okay. All right, and I think with that, I think that's most of the questions. So, you know, volunteering for FIRST, if you're not heavily involved in the volunteering, you become part of this family that it is impossible to leave. There is not an exit strategy from FIRST. I can't find it.
It's not available.
No, I think it's a life sentence, and I'm okay with that. You know, this is a great group of people to work with. We are having a very demonstrable, very obvious impact on tens of thousands of students, and you know, it's a good thing. This is a really great group of people, and a very, very worthwhile immediate impact sort of thing to get involved with volunteering. We'll give you as much rope as you want. We'll give you as much training as you want, or we'll let you set your own boundaries as much as you want. You know, and you just tell us what you want to do. We're going to ask for the world, and hey, if you can only give us half a continent, we're good with that. So, all right. And okay, so I think with that, I don't want to belabor this too much longer. So if there are no other major questions, Deb or Michael, do you have anything that you would like to close up with, or Susan?
Not me.
Good job. I'm good. Thank you, guys. We can't do it without you. We're just one big happy family trying to make a big life transition, and we're just glad that you're on the call and considering coming alongside us. So thanks.
All right. Well, we hope to hear from you all and be talking to you all very soon. Thanks so much for attending, and I wish you everybody a good night.